guidelines and give you the instructions and so forth. And then I myself am going to have to go back out and respond to a crisis. One of my clients is threatening suicide, so those of you in the business know that I have to respond to that to maintain my licenses. So I'll be... Come closer then. But I'm going to get you started, okay? So, Bilal, I'm going to ask you to be responsible for the first meditation session for today and make sure everybody gets situated and all of those things. And
Fatma's getting settled. She'll be up in a couple
who is
minutes.
that?
Basraji.
Badraji. All right, she'll catch
There she is.
There she is. So let's turn our attention then to the schedule. And so you all pretty much know this place. We've been here before, so we know where we're at. We know what the room's are all about. We know the grounds, I think, with the exception of Jose Sa. And Nabaji, you been here before?
Yes, sir.
All right, so everybody's been here. You not been here before? Well, your husband is giving you the big tour. Okay? All right. So, that you have your schedule. It's pretty straightforward. You know where the lower level is at. You know this is the main level and so forth and so on. So I won't spend a lot of time with that at all. What I will like to do is to kind of set the pace. And of course, this year's theme that was selected, and I didn't select it. The retreat committee, they select the theme each year, and I tried to fit in with that. Well, this year's theme is moving beyond or going beyond all limitations. And I think what I really want to say here to you today is really very simple. You all have been doing this consideration on just like me, and in the course of that consideration, you have had to look at the impulse to be happy, since that is one of the fundamental things that we all have in common at the level of a motive underlying all of our behavior and so forth and so on. What you also must notice is that this impulse to be happy is not the impulse for ordinary happiness. That impulse to be happy is the impulse for profound happiness, for ultimate, total, complete, permanent, and perfect self-fulfillment. That impulse cannot be satiated through ordinary means and strategies. You follow me? What the heart wants is something much more than a pizza or a television program or whatever strategy you are currently involved with for the sake of giving yourself temporary and minimum happiness. Make a note, you see? The satisfaction that you are deriving from your various strategies are always producing temporary and minimum fulfillment. A level of fulfillment that is not equal to what the heart really wants. The heart impulse is to be totally, ultimately, completely, absolutely happy with no remainder, with nothing else needing to be done ever again. That is the impulse of the heart, you see. And sadhana can really not begin in any one case until you have reached a point where your heart impulse to be happy cannot be satisfied by any other thing. Please make a note. As long as you can get a hit, your heart has not opened. Your heart is not fully there yet. You have not made the transition into the realm of the heart. You see, your life is not heart-based, because the heart-based life is a life where there is no way that you can ever be made satisfied with anything. Not with your pizza, not with your programs, not with any of the strategies you all have confessed. No books, no talk, nothing is any longer capable of giving you any kind of satisfaction of that primal impulse to be absolutely happy. Are you follow me? As long as you are still able to make yourself happy by ordinary worldly activity, then you may know that your heart has not opened. You see? And sadhana is a spontaneous expression of the heart opening, the heart thirsting, the heart demanding that it must have that which will ultimately satisfy it, you see. That's what sadhana is. Sadhana does not truly begin in any one case until you get past your level of satisfaction with your hits, you see. As long as you are able to satiate your heart impulse to be happy through these ordinary means that you are involved in, then to that degree you have not made the transition into that stage of the spiritual process where sadhana is no longer an option. For you all, your sadhana is still an option. It will always be an option as long as you are able to find alternatives to it. And you can find all kinds of alternatives to your sadhana for the sake of giving yourself some temporary relief and satisfaction. Are you following my argument? And as long as you are still capable of finding some level of fulfillment and satisfaction through these ordinary means of this primal impulse of the heart to be absolutely happy, then you have not truly entered into that phase of the spiritual progress that makes sadhana possible. You see? Sadhana is not a head trip. You cannot reason and use logic to move yourself into a state of sadhana. Sadhana is a matter of the heart. When the heart wants what it wants, which is this absolute and supreme, ultimate, complete satisfaction. When the heart wants what it wants, when it reaches that point, when the heart opens fully and become active in your case, then you cannot be satisfied with anything less, you see? And that inability to be satisfied with your ordinary strategies by which you are dealing with your unhappiness and unfulfillment, when that has been exhausted, when that no longer works in your case, you see, now sadhana becomes possible. Sadhana is the spontaneous response to the inability to be satisfied through these ordinary means and strategies. You see. You can't get no more hits. And so you must move, therefore, beyond the limitations of all these hits. You see. You must go beyond all of that. So one of the ways to do that is exhaust yourself. Knock your ass out. Go ahead. Do all of the things that you feel is an alternative to sadhana until you have exhausted that, until you have grown beyond all of that. You follow what I'm saying? Eat all the food you want, have all the sex you want, watch all the TV you want, miss all the meditation you want, do all of those things, you see, that you still see as an alternative to sadhana until you are exhausted. Or you can understand my argument. You have a choice. But you must do one or the other. No fooling, no kidding. Until that occurs in your case, in any one case, then there is no basis for sadhana in the true sense of the word. Are you all following my argument? Yes. We're here today to not deceive yourself about it. One of the messages that I asked Bhagwan Ra to make sure she communicated the necessity for stop lying to yourself about it all, you see? This lying to one another is meaningless. It's not much damage in that, but it's the lying to yourself about it, you see. Now, as long as you still think your strategy is going to fulfill that primal impulse, as long as you are still convicted at some level that you're going to be able to resort to an alternative other than sadhana for the sake of perfecting your self-fulfillment, then do that. You see? You think you're going to be able to manipulate your relationships, do this through your wife, your children, and family? Go ahead, do that shit. But do it. Stop fucking around with it. Go through it, do it all. Put your ass into it, you see, so that you may have the great revelation, you see? Because until you get to the end of that, the heart won't open, you see? the heart does not become active in your case. It does not start thirsting in your case, you see. So those are limited ways of addressing and responding to and trying to meet your needs for perfect self-fulfillment, you see. So go ahead and do all that shit. That is what you are to decide here. Contemplate. Leave here over the course of these next few days. You know what I mean? Clear about it. You know what I mean? Not double-minded about it, you see? Go exhaust all your worldly strategies that you are constantly compromising your sodomy for. Go ahead, do all of it. Try to make your relationship do what God realization can only do. Go ahead, try that. Go on, trying to make your television give you the kind of fulfillment that only union with God can give you. Exhaust that. Play your money game until you can see that ain't going to give you the kind of satisfaction, that primal impulse for ultimate satisfaction that your heart really wants. Go ahead and see that. Experience that. Play with your children and your wife and your husband. Play the little family man, family woman game. Play the shit. Until you see that does not satisfy the primal impulse for ultimate happiness. And thus no longer become a part of your strategy. Are you all following my argument?
Yes, sir.
So you got to get serious about it. You got to cease to be satisfied with anything less than self-regard realization. You see, beloved, you all are satisfied with that which is less than self-regard realization. You really are satisfied with that, you see. And you are here to consider to what degree you are satisfied with. Look at that. Confront that in yourself. See your satisfaction with that which is less than self-regard realization. You see? And exhaust all of that. Observe and identify your alternatives to sodomy that you are dependent upon for the sake of perfecting your impulse for self-fulfillment. Many of you are satisfied with spiritual information, as if spiritual information is equal to spirituality. It is not equal to spirituality. I shouldn't even have to make that argument. On its face, that is false, isn't it? You're satisfied with spiritual information. That's all you do is collect spiritual information. You all are sort of like a spiritual information exchange. You know what I mean? All members, you know what I mean, and paid up. So you're trading in spiritual information. As if spiritual information has anything to do with spirituality. It has nothing to do with it. Your spiritual information will not function in your life like spirituality. And you must cease to be satisfied with that. You see, as long as you're trying to satisfy this impulse in the heart for real spirituality with this pseudo stuff, then you will not be satisfied. And you're not satisfied. You done read all these books and you're still not satisfied. You've heard all these arguments and you still are not satisfied, you see. Spiritual information is not spirituality. And the mere accumulation of spiritual information has nothing to do with sodomy. That's not sodomy. You follow me? And you have to examine yourself and see if you are really ready for the real deal and prepared to go beyond the limitation of mere spiritual information. That's limited. Are you ready to go beyond the limitation of your self-satisfaction with mere spiritual information? Have you confused that with the real deal? And if so, see that about yourself and be moved to transcend that limitation. You know, find out something about yourself while you're here. Find out what you're up to. And I'll call it spiritual practice and spiritual life and living. You see, find out what you are really up to. And then go beyond that limitation. Now, any questions about that? Because we're not going to have time to sit around and jaw jag here. You know what I mean? You're not going to have time to caucus in this place and that place and consider it as a cooler group. You're on your own. This retreat, you got to do your own work. You know what I mean? This will be a silent retreat. We're moving to the silence now. Silence and solitude is what required to engage sovereignty. It's even required to engage deep reflection. You got to think here. Maharaji also say that 95% of enlightenment is clear thinking. So you all got to do some clear-ass thinking here. You know what I mean? And no more of this mobile shit. This gobbledygook. Just utter nonsense. Don't make no sense, not even to you. Just saying shit. Just throwing spiritual information out your mouth. Not even seeing the connection between one thing you say with the other thing you say. This is mummery. You see? You must go beyond the limitation of your mummery. Please make a note of that. You're mummers, one and all. Stop hiding your ignorance. You are ignorant. Stop hiding. Pretending like you know a knower. You are not a knower. You are ignorant. And the only way to overcome it is first to acknowledge it, you see? So this is one of the principal obstacle and hindrance areas that stands in one's way of really becoming a quote-unquote spiritual person. You got to get past your level of satisfaction with spiritual information. You got to get past that. That's a limitation. It's a barrier. It's an obstacle. You must be at that level of spiritual growth, that level of barah, that level of thirstiness, whereby you can no longer be satisfied with mere spiritual information. This level and stage of barah, in some sense, can be looked upon as the fourth stage in the developmental stages of spiritual growth and development, you see. The first stage being pretty much devoted to training at the level of the physical. You follow what I'm saying? Getting your vegetarianism down and all that other kind of stuff. Getting your asana down, training this body to sit, be still. That physical part. You see, got to get all that done. You follow what I'm saying? Some of you ain't even got that much work done. In your self-satisfaction with your accumulated spiritual information, you have presumed that it's not necessary to train the body. I've read enough books to bypass that part of the process. You have not ever been able to read enough books to bypass that part of the process. You must get this physical phase of the spiritual process down. You can't get that by reading books. You get that through practice. You practice until you can sit your body still. You practice until you can sit here for 2 hours and not go to goddamn sleep. You practice. You don't get that from reading books and attendance like so. You get that from practice, and then you must get it. You follow me? And that's just the physical part of the process. Are you following my argument? Then there's something like a stage 2, and that means you got to deal with this anger, lust, greed, and attachment. That's what this whole, just like me, Dharma is purpose to do, make you address all that. You got to get all that straight. You got to get that down. You follow what I'm saying? And like with training the body, you must train your mind. You must train it. Your mind must be trained. This is mind training going on here. You follow me? Not wish and hope that you will one day be able to transcend anger if you can just hear another discourse from me. That ain't going to help you. You got to practice. You see, I can talk to you all I want about meditation at the physical level. That's not going to help you. You got to sit there. You got to go do the work. Is that about right? Arguments are not going to rescue you from the work. Please make a note. If you're clinging to my argument in the hope that it's going to rescue you from some work, you're in some serious self-delusion and self-deception. This is not going to rescue you from any work. Its purpose to make you be willing to do the damn work. Are you with me? So you got to deal with the emotional stage of the spiritual process, whereby you really deal with this anger, lust, greed, and intent. You got to get all that handled. Are you with me? And then there's a kind of mental stage of the process, whereby you got to develop the ability to think clearly. All right? Got to get past all this muddled thinking. You follow me? Got to develop some viveka, some discrimination. You see? You must understand about our existence to the point that you are governed by it. You follow what I'm saying? That it is always already your point of view. You see my point? You got to become mentally fit. You got to get in shape mentally, intellectually, psychologically. You got to get in shape. Just like your body's out of shape, your intellect is out of shape. Dull as a brick. You follow me? Hard time understanding anything esoteric. You follow what I'm saying? So you got to get in a state of mental fitness. You follow what I'm saying? Now those are the kind of preparation then for the heart to open, right? As you go through all of that reflection and stuff like that, especially at the mental level, you begin to see, you see, this ain't working. And your intelligence always will drop that which is not working. That is intelligence. Are you with me? You say, well, but when I see this and I see this and this is not working, but that's simply your confession that you ain't intelligent. Clearly you're not intelligent. Clearly your intelligence is not operating in your case. Clearly you have not done that level of spiritual work whereby you have become more intelligent. You have not listened to the arguments. You have not really pondered them. You have not genuinely engaged the cooler process. You follow me? You've been a mummer. You've been playing at it. You've been faking it. It's pretentious. You follow me? So you come out as dull-minded as you was before you enter into the process. The cooler process has not elevated your intelligence, because intelligence simply will not do that it sees as futile and will not deliver that kind of outcome that will satisfy this impulse of the heart to be happy. It's not going to do that. It's never going to be a struggle. You say you see it and you're struggling with it. That's a confession. You have not even seen it. Intelligently. You might have seen it intellectually. But that don't count. Are you with me?
Yes.
So you must become more than intellectual in order to fulfill the requirement for mental development in this process. And when you have rightly passed through this third stage of the spiritual process of development, with your intelligence is operating, then you see, you automatically come to this point now of the fourth stage, where the heart is no longer satisfied. You see, the intelligence of saying none of this is ever going to do this. You know what I mean? The intelligence itself won't let you run back into your old accustomed ways. Right? How could it? So intelligence is saying we're in trouble. We got to become self in God real life. This is no longer an option. There is no more alternative. You follow me? Bridge has been burnt. I've told you the story of Alexander the Great and his secret of conquest. Asked by someone how do he account for his incredible string of military victories and so forth and so on. The great general was said to respond that when he enters into harbor, into the country that he's about to conquer, when the ship's dock, he burns every goddamn ship, so that the soldier understand, either we're going to conquer or we ain't going to go home. There is no option except victory. Are you with me? Well, the fourth stage of the spiritual stages of development is like that. It is the realization. I have got to become self and God realized. There is no option. You all got an option. If you don't become self and God realized, your option is your husband, your wife, your children, your job, your career, your food, your television, your sex, blah, 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 blah. The true spiritual seeker who has entered into the fourth stage, the stage of crisis, the stage of transition, like Alexander and his men, there is no option. There is no alternative. And the stages beyond that is not even relevant to you. It'll become just more spiritual information. But it is those stages beyond this fourth stage that are the stages of Sodom. That's where Sodom begins. Fourth stage and beyond. That's Sodom. The 3 stages prior to that is just preparation, just getting straight, getting clear, getting ready, finding out about it, developing some discrimination, seeing things as things really are, getting intelligent. Not intellectual, intelligent. Vast distinction. Y'all lucky I got a little time today because I had a lot more to say to you, but time and circumstances won't permit all of it. But I will get the essential points across to you, hopefully. So do y'all understand what we mean when we talk about now going beyond all limitations? So I have bought you cards today, and I want you to pass them around to one another. And on that card, write your name on the back. You all have pens. On the back of the card, write your name. On the front of the card, write for me what you will consider here. You don't have to write it right on the spot here. I mean, take a little time. Bring it to me at the end of the day. In our last practice period, which will be between 9 and 10, at the end of that 9 o'clock session, right? Just bring it to me quietly, you know. Take the rest of the day and decide what you're going to consider. What do you need to consider? I mean, examine yourself a little bit today. What's the problem you got to deal with for the sake of really taking advantage of this opportunity that has been given to you, this initiation, this nam-dan? What do you still need to do? All right? Intelligently look at your life, look at your sadhana, look at your practice, look back over the years that you've been on the path, look at yourself, and intelligently now, you see, consider, what must you do to go beyond your mummery? What is required of you to transcend the limitations of your mummery? You all understand what I mean by mummery? Mummery is a kind of a pretense. Mummery is a kind of an acting. It's a kind of hypocrisy. It's a kind of fraud, you know. There's a kind of satisfaction with imitation rather than having fulfillment from being the real deal. You follow what I'm saying? Mummery is a kind of alternative to the real deal and the satisfaction with that alternative. Like spiritual information, you see, and the satisfaction with that, without conforming your life to any of that spiritual information, is mummery. Believing the Dharma to be true and still, in spite of that confession, not doing what is required of you to conform your life and living to be consistent with your belief in the truth of the Dharma. That's mummery. and to be satisfied with that gap, to justify it and rationalize your gap. That's mummery. It's ridiculous. Mummery is living a ridiculous life, absolutely ridiculous, just ridiculous. You're a ridiculous person. You are a kind of person that is not to be taken seriously at all. Mummery is the failure to live your life as if what you say is true is in fact truth. You go on professing with your mouth that this is so, and yet your living is as if it is not so. That's a ridiculous position to take. So consider, in your own case, enter into the silence of your own self and really reflect. Look at yourself. Observe yourself. Consider, what must you do? What is required of you? What does the reality of spiritual life require of you? What must you really do? No fooling, no kidding. What's the no fooling, no kidding work you really got to get down to doing? Reflect, consider all of the arguments you've heard, all the books you've read. You see my point? All the years you have practiced. You see. And then consider, what are you going to do? What must you consider here? So write a consideration to yourself. And don't write me 2 pages, okay? See, give me something concise. Because that's what you will consider in your moments when you're not practicing. You won't be sitting around talking and doing more mummery together. You follow what I'm saying? This retreat, your purpose is to mind your own business. See my point? Just mind your business out here. Take care of your business. Don't worry about anybody else's business. Stay out of other people's business. Stay into your business. And consider what it is that you must consider for the sake of getting straight. I mean, you must resolve something. What's the doubt that is standing in your way? I mean, get into this thing. Find for yourself a real consideration. Just don't put down some intellectual bullshit. You know what I mean? Because then you defeat the whole purpose, don't you? I mean, really, really get into that. Consideration is not just a matter of intellectually weighing, it's a matter of making up your mind. The purpose of consideration is to make up your mind and heart to take an action. You know, consideration is not just some kind of intellectual activity. It's not just philosophizing. That's what you all do when you say you are going to consider it. You philosophize it, and without any kind of definitive conclusion that will reflect in an action. That's not what I mean by consideration. You consider something in order to do something. So you must make the consideration that will result in you doing something here. You follow what I'm saying? A consideration about how you will live. So just don't write down philosophy. You know what I mean? I'm going to consider how many angels can dance on the head of a pin. You know what I mean? That's pointless. You see, mummery. You know, so don't make more mummery here. All right? Consider what you got to do. and are going to do. Not try to do. Not hope to do. Not wish you could do. Shit you gonna do. Must do. For the sake of the heart having what the heart wants. You see, your heart wants to be happy. Done with it. Completed. Over. No more struggling. No more efforting. The heart wants to be utterly and completely and totally, without remainder, happy. You see? That's what the heart wants. You see? That's what your heart wants. What your heart wants. What your heart wants. That's what it wants. You must consider, is that what you're going to give it? What are you giving your heart? Now that you know what your heart wants. What have you been giving your heart? How have you been trying to satisfy your own heart's desire? What have you been using to try to satisfy this primal impulse and desire to be utterly happy? What have you been doing? What have you been pursuing toward that end? Have you been giving yourself what you really want? Do you even know what you really want? Are you even conscious of the heart impulse for utter and complete self-fulfillment? Are you even conscious of it? Have you done the just like me practice to the point that you are conscious of your motives? Or have you played mummery with that too? From what I'm hearing on the tape, most of you here played mummery with it, played philosophy with it, played psychology with it, and have not really understood what it's all about. Now we have a few minutes for any clarification on anything that has been said here.
Number two.
Yes, below.
Yeah, now is it all right for us to, like, during this period of silence, to take notes? You know, it's
Yeah. Do all of that, because that's what you're here for. Whatever you need to do for the sake of fulfilling your own heart desires. You know what I mean? That's what we're here to do. You know what I mean? To do some heart work here. You see? Because at some point you got to decide, am I going to, you know what I mean, really live my life in response to my impulse, this primal impulse, or am I going to sell myself out? Or am I going to keep duping myself and trying to make up some fantasy about a television program's ability to fulfill the impulse of my heart? You know what I mean? Are you going to be true to yourself? Or are you going to continually bullshit your own self? Because that's all you're doing. You're sitting here bullshitting your own self. Neglecting your own self. Not loving your own self. Trying to love others. But when it comes to your own heart, it's fuck you. The heart wants to be happy. The impulse underlying humanity's behavior is at all levels the impulse to be happy. It's the impulse for God and self-realization. How are you trying to satisfy that primal impulse for self-realization? Are you reading books to get that satisfied? You won't be able to do that through books. You're not going to become self-realized reading no books. Yet there is the impulse. For self and God realization, just like the impulse to be happy. You see, they're all entwined. At some level, you see the impulse, when the impulse for self-realization is realized, happiness is the outcome of that. You see, they're interrelated. The same is the case with the impulse for God realization, you see. It automatically stands you in a self-realization and absolute blissful and happy condition, you see. Realizing God, what else can a human being want? Really. So we want to make right and full use of this retreat. Something else to say about it that you need to say about it? We're going to have occasions during our Dukkha Sun, as you go through your schedules, you'll notice that after lunch or breakfast, here and there, I've set aside a space for Dukkha Sun, like based on kulas. Now I know that Kula number 1 is missing. I did not put Kula number 1 down as a recent Kula because they've done no Kula. So I'll save the last day on Sunday for those who have not Kula. You see my point? Well, you get to go last. Now, even though I know that there's been people who go into other Kula groups and from that Kula. So I'll make sure that gets rewarded. But as far as the other makeup of that group, they need to come out here and spend some time. So during your occasion when we have some Dukkha Sun, I will be asking, okay, how are you doing with this? You see, what are you seeing based on your own consideration? Now, we have with us over the course of this retreat, Jose Saab. It's not initiated, you see. So you will not be permitted to participate in the budget parts. You have to go back to your room and work. Whether you get initiated or not during this course, we'll see. You know what I mean? As you can clearly see, I'm not in the mood for bullshit. You know, so don't bring me bullshit when I interview you. And if you have been bullshitted, then don't take it personal if I reject you. So that's the consequence of bullshit, isn't it? That's what failure is. It's a sign of your bullshit. Any questions for that? Yes, but
Can I ask, not related to this, but downstairs when we set it up, do you want to set it up like we did last year?
Yes, set it up like you all did last year. Everybody knows what to do, right? And so that all should run a lot smoother this time. I'm going to let you all break about 10 minutes early to get all that done. Try to do it silently, because when we end here, now we go into the silence. That itself is going to be a discipline, you see. Because again, as Kabir Saab says, that one of the limitations you have to go beyond, one of the pleasures, in fact, as Kabir called it, is the pleasure of talking. Spiritual talking is pleasurable, you see. And very often now, you can make talking about spirituality some kind of alternative to sadhana, some kind of alternative to the real deal, you see. And so Kabir Saab said that you must go beyond that limitation. You must enter into the silence and get beyond that. You follow what I'm saying? You must stop fueling that. You follow what I'm saying? And be quiet. And be silent. And go beyond the limitation of the mere satisfaction that is a part of spiritual discussion. It's a kind of a hit. It's a kind of drug. And it's very pleasurable. Make no mistake about it. But it ain't equal to spirituality. And you must go beyond that. So this retreat, like traditional retreats now, is to be done in silence. So you must respect one another's need to be silent, not in involve that. The only person you should be talking to is me or Leela G. Other than that, you shouldn't be talking to nobody. So Leela G and me, so we can hug you. We can say, well, shake them if we feel, but if not, we don't have to say shit to you. Right? But you are not to disturb one another. Preferably don't even look at one another. I will prefer that. You pass each other, keep your head down. Don't even bring each other into view. Yes, beloved.
Do we remain in the silence even when we're having our meals?
Yes. You're going to enter into the silence. Because that's where you can only do your work. When you come out of the silence, you're going to get distracted. And your work is going to stop. Your concentration is going to be interrupted. Your mind is going to start. You see my point? Yes, beloved.
Bob asked, sometimes his family will be walking around, and as we pass them, if they speak.
Oh, yes. I mean, you should be courteous.
Yeah.
But Bob should know better.
But he said, you know,
Yeah, but I'll tell him it's a silent retreat.
well, I did.
You
He
did?
told him it
All
was
right.
everywhere.
Then he
Food and everything.
should know that.
He said he would
Good.
tell us.
But that'll you'll be challenged. You could just nod. You don't have to talk. There's many gestures that can acknowledge another person. You don't have to say, "What's up?" You know, what's going on? Where you live? How long you been on the planet Earth? And where you from? And give me your. See, you don't need all that. Yes, Padre. Your who? Your partner? That we talked about? Yeah, you could get elect. You see one of your cooler mates here? Okay, then you sit next to them, and while you got your 10 minutes setting up, strike the deal. Okay? All right. Yes, beloved.
For the people that are not here, is there a way for them to get the instruction?
Yeah, I'm going to, those who are coming in tomorrow night, I have a little bit of time. I don't have my glasses here. I think it's between, where is it tonight? Tomorrow night. I got a little time at the end, I'll do it.
But we shouldn't talk to
Oh,
anybody
hell
that
no.
comes in.
I can play the tape back for them if they get here, and I can play the tape back for
And
them
we can even
off
do
the
that.
camera if they want.
What, is there a TV that they can see it on?
No, they can just
Yeah,
listen
Bob
to the
asked me
camera.
if you would need one, and I could just,
We can bring a TV over and let them watch it on TV, but then that deprive them of the ability to ask questions, so I'd rather spend the time
Okay.
and not give them any kind of second-hand treatment. So, no, but I will do that. But you all won't have to do that. You see my point? You'll just have to take care of your business. You know what I mean? It's just your business. I mean, try to retreat if there's nobody here but me and you and Leela G. And that's it.
Just say you're going to collect this tonight.
I'm going to collect that tonight. I'll give you the rest of the day because I don't want it to be glossed over. You know what I mean? I really want you to really kind of sit with that.
Are we supposed to put on that?
Hmm. Put your name on the back and write your consideration on the opposite side. And then I will collect those. If you need more cards, Dr. Maji got them, because you may need to do versions of it. See, maybe do your versions in your book and give me the final version on the card. That just say cards, we won't waste them. I need those back for the night for those who are still yet to come. Thank you, beloved. So write your various versions in your notebook and give me the final cut on the card. Thank you. And yes, beloved.
What was the Dharma talk?
Just Dharma talk, just as Dharma talk.
You can talk to
No,
He's talking.
I'm talking.
You're talking.
Yes, yes. That's all right. That's what you better ask those questions, right? You're going to, yes, yes.
How are you going to do the Dukasana?
That I'll talk to you.
I mean, do you need, are we just going to take turns?
Just take turns.
When our
Since you know
pool is
your
full?
pool is there, you know if it's breakfast, and I'll just, you know, go one, and then the rest of you know. You just come spontaneously. Yes, beloved.
So you're saying that during the lunch Dukasan cooler, we can talk to each other?
No, you talk to me.
Talk to you. Okay, right.
I will pull from that cooler because I can't talk to everybody at the same time. And I want to talk personally. So maybe during your Dukasan, I'll call you and you'll tell me, I'll know your consideration, and I ask you, you cut through this thing. You know, have you come to some conclusion about it? What's your resolution? What will you do? You know what I mean? I will ask you for a bottom line. I will be looking for bottom line. I'm only interested in what you're going to do. What limitation are you committed to campaign? Right now, right here. None of this shit 6 months down the road. Right here, right now. What are you prepared to do? See? I want to measure your heart. I want to see how open it is. What like in having Bhagwan Ra Afrika centimeters you have spread. You see? See how many alternatives you still got. You know what I mean? I want to feel it. I want to measure you. I want to take your spiritual temperature. I want to see if you're ready to really do this thing so that I may know how to relate to you in the future. So there will be this is a turning point in our personal relationship that I will have with each and every one of you. Follow what I'm saying? This body is getting old, it will die. I don't have time to waste. If you're still satisfied with your this and your that as an alternative for fulfilling this heart impulse for utter and complete happiness, then you know what I mean? You don't need more of me, you need more of that. So that will be my recommendation to you. You know what I mean? Get you 3 wives, get you 2 husbands, get you 4 jobs. You follow what I'm saying? Get into debt, get you all that shit that you wanted. You follow what I'm saying? Play your game. You see? And I won't be being facetious with you. That will be an instruction to you. You follow what I'm saying? So it won't be facetious. It will be an instruction. This is what you go do. It'll be tailor-made. This is what you need to go do. I might ask some of you all to get back on drugs. I'm weird like that. But I will be making recommendations based on your level of preparation that I sense based on your handling of your own consideration. If you play mummery with it, then I'm going to instruct you in a course of life and living that is appropriate for a mummer until you mummery yourself out. To do less than that is not to have served you. Are you with me?
Run it from Mario.
Run it from Mario?
Yes. I don't know about Kulu's number.
I don't either. Let me tell you what they are.
Thank you.
Let me read them all off here so that you all will know. I'll tell you who the Mahants are, and then you all know your Mahants. So for Kula number 2, that's Gurudasa group. Kula number 3, that's Rajaveda. Kula number 4 is Prembani. Kula number 5 is Bhadraji. Kula number 6 is Faraji. Kula number 7 is Mahanta. And Kula number 8 is Sevananda, but she's not here. So in her absence, then we would designate Vavikara, who was the prior Mahant. So all of you all know who you are, okay? And then I know that we have Mukherjee, and presumably that is Kula number 0. We'll call you Kula number 1. But so Kula number 1 will go last. Yes, and then you're not in any Kula, are you? Right. Outside. Then what Kula do you want to go with?
I got a choice?
Yes, sir. Whichever one you want, for the day at least. Just so that you'll know what group to be.
Group on Brother Muhammad.
The group, all right. So Mahanta is Kula number 7. So when you see on the schedule Kula number 7, wherever that is, then you know I'm going to be calling from that group at that time for your feedback from your consideration. Yes, beloved.
Are you going to use all of us in the pool?
No, one-on-one. Duka-san. Yes, talk to me.
As far as the consideration, is the expectation that we have, it's not that we have completely considered it, like our coolest, our Duke-San time, is that like our deadline, or just
No,
wherever
it's just
wherever you are, and we
Yeah,
just talk
wherever
about
you
that?
are, right?
Okay.
Because I wish we could do it every day,
Okay.
but it's not possible to do all of them every day, everybody every day. It's just not practical. But I wish we could. But at least it'll be the beginning, you know what I mean? And we may continue that after the retreat, you know what I mean? This is just to initiate that process. Just to initiate that process. Before I lose my thought, Shakti Devi, you and Tapasiana and Surati, if she should come, you all are with children. So I want you to be careful here. You know what I mean? I want you to pay particularly close attention to your body. Do not try to leap over tall buildings and then sing about. If you start feeling the strain, you know what I mean? You relax. You follow what I'm saying? You let me know. Because this is strenuous here on the body, and I don't want to do anything that will put you at risk, okay? So you don't have to impress me or anybody else here. You follow what I'm saying? Work as your body permits you, and you'll still get something out of it, as long as your heart is right. Okay. And I will communicate that message to Tapasiana and Suratia if she should happen to come. Just wanted to let you know that. Yes, beloved.
On today's schedule, dinner will not be until 6 o'clock.
Okay.
So-
Then y'all make the changes for yourself in your mind, but we still going to come as close to this as possible. Because we had an extra half an hour from the end of dinner to similar, so rather than having that extra half an hour, you just eat dinner, we go right into it. So it'll work itself out. All right, yes, beloved.
When you saw the reference of the Kula group, I would say the last time you and I dialogued after Satsang, you informed me that you was going to place me in the Kula group.
Yes. Of course, that's going to be determined basically whether or not I decide to initiate you.
Oh.
So I knew you were coming here. And, so you and I will handle that. And I will make some time just for me and you. So don't forget that. I'll come by. Yes, beloved. Last question.
No reading, right?
Well, I would prefer that you don't read and do your own work. You know what I mean? A lot of time when you read, it's like copying off somebody else's paper. You're using other people's insights and answers that they got from going and doing themselves to try to resolve yours. So I would prefer for you not to read, to do it a natural route. But I must acknowledge that reading sometimes can give you a model of how this should be done. But I think that by this late date and time, you've read a lot already. And I don't think any more is going to really help you. You see my point? So I would prefer that you just try to use all of your mental energy, time and attention, and focus it on this. You know what I mean? You can read when you get back home. You know what I mean? Most reading is almost always purpose for the accumulation of more spiritual information. That's all. It's by accumulating more spiritual information, you see, you're going to have something like spirituality. This is like driving a car. I mean, you can read all the books about driving cars and not be able to drive. You got to get behind the wheel. You got to actually, it's a hands-on. So I would prefer that you don't read. You will get a much better outcome if you don't read, to the point that you keep this thing pure. You know what I mean? In traditional sessions, of course, reading is not, no television, no. That's why we have these kind of places, to get you away from all of that. You see my point? I've already said I don't even want you to look at one another, so let alone read a book. You know what I mean? But do still look where you're going now. Don't walk in the walls here, but you know.
Raji.
Ravikara, and then Bhattaraji.
Can I, do the beginning of the text, I can't remember.
You've heard pretty much the essence. Yes, Bhagwan.
Master, I just want to know if we need something from another person, like getting something like the car or something that we left him write a note.
Um, if you need some help, see me. There is someone needing help. It's just me and you, baby. Here to serve. You all are relieved of favor. Yes, beloved.
Is there a clock downstairs?
I'll keep time.
Okay. All the time when we're down there?
Yeah, I'll keep time. So all you got to do is one thing. All right, this has got to be the last one because we're ready to here and you're scheduled to start practicing here. I'm going to concede for the sake of time here, and instead of 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock for your sermon, let's make that. Who still has to put away stuff in their room? All right, that only should take you 10 minutes. All right, so at 2:15, Bilal, we start. Okay, so we got 15 minutes to hug and kiss each other and all of that. 2:15. That's it. We don't want to hear a pin drop.
So
You know
no
what I mean?
hugging, no kissing.
None of that. You're not here for that. You follow what I'm saying? You're here to get straight. You know what I mean? Here to get straight. So it's none of this Rachecum and all of this. We leave all that alone. That ain't got nothing to do with being spiritual. We're here to do some work. See, we're here to get busy. All right? Got to enter into the silence. You must enter into the silence. You see? You got to get all right with that. You see? Yes, beloved.
The housekeeping things that Bob wanted to go over, he can do that at dinner?
Yeah, he can do that at dinner.
Okay.
Yeah, we pretty much know all that stuff, but he can
Well, he
still do
wanted
his
the things
job.
like the air conditioning. He said because they just installed it today.
Okay,
So he
good.
doesn't know how it's working. So
Okay, that's good.
some, you know.
So at dinner, he can have that opportunity.
And I did want to, he said that since the air conditioner is going to be on, that we should be mindful of keeping the doors closed.
Sure.
And the windows.
And the windows, yeah.
In our rooms. Okay, good. All right, let's shake. I will be back as soon as possible, and again, I apologize for not being able to go down and start you off. I'm going to start with making a few notes of change to a schedule. And these will be pertaining to today and tomorrow as well. You note here the Dharma talk today was scheduled to start at 7 o'clock. We're going to change that. We're going to make the Dharma talk from 7:30 till 8:30, which will take away your morning simmering practice. I wanted to give an extra hour for our sisters so that you don't be rushed for getting ready. Now, if you don't think that'll be a problem, having only a half an hour to get yourself together, then I'll reverse it. But if I know you sisters rightly, it takes a little bit more time. So make a note on your schedule that tomorrow we will be changing to 7:30 to 8:30 for the Dharma talk. And there will not be a practice of Simran on the schedule, so cross that out. We'll go from Dharma talk to breakfast, and then you will have an extra hour to get ready. The men, you have an extra hour to practice, huh? Okay? So, and the same will be the case on, well, no, Sunday we're going to push. So Sunday I got to get some out of you, okay? So Sunday we're going to leave in place, all right? Any questions about it?
Will there be no Simran on those 2 days?
No Simran on those 2 days. Okay. Now today we'll go from 7 to, maybe 45 minutes or so, depends. And then whatever time is left over, you can, as an option, go down and sit until breakfast, okay? Fair enough? All right, good. So, I wanted to just share a few more things with you that will hopefully enable you to go deeper into your chosen consideration. Pertaining to sadhana, that's what we all are here for. We come to places like this, we spend money and and board a place sort of like this, all for the purpose of refining and detailing our practice to develop our sadhana. Yesterday I have suggested to you that there are certain things required in everyone's case in order to even do sadhana, you see, in the first place. Yesterday I reminded you that sadhana in some sense is a spontaneous response to the recognition of one's inability to satisfy the primal impulse of the heart through the ordinary and mediocre means that has categorized your whole lifestyle up until this point, you see. So on one level, you see, that's a prerequisite for sadhana. Lately, I have been reminding you all that equally so, there is the need for faith. Faith in the revelation that these gurus, since time immemorial, has given us. In traditional times and in ancient times, and even in these times, sadhana was possible only upon acceptance of the testimony and the confession of the God realizers. And without such an acceptance of the testimony and the confession of the God realizers, sadhana was not possible, you see. It was so then, it is so now. Most of our time is spent debating whether we will or will not accept the testimony and the confession of the Buddhas. And we spin our wheels and rack our brains searching here and there until we can somehow get enough information to accept that testimony and that confession, you see. And then that way you waste your whole lifetime in the great opportunity that is given you. Because you're never going to figure it all out. It's not possible for you to figure it out. It's beyond your comprehension. So this fundamental acceptance of and faith in the testimony and the confessions of the God realizers is absolutely necessary for the practice of any sadhana, you see. Until you are able to accept such confessions, then you will always be struggling, you see. Without acceptance, such testimony, without faith in the revelation and the demonstration given freely as gift by the great realizers, without acceptance then you will struggle to do sadhana. But it will be just that, it's a struggle, because you will be basing your sadhana on something other than acceptance and faith in this revelation. Are you following my argument? You will try to ground your practice in your body, your feelings, and your mind. And that becomes the basis of your practice. You will practice in the realms of duality. You see, sometimes you will feel like practicing at the level of your body. Sometimes you will not, because the body is subject to dualism. duality. Are you with me? Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Is that all right? And because of the duality of body, feelings, and mind, you see, you're always all over the place. You're never consistent. There can be no consistency when your sadhana is grounded in and based on the dualities of body, feelings, and mind. Are you following me? Now, sometimes you will be in the mood, you see, to practice. You're emotionally positive in that moment. You see, you've heard some discourse, you've read some book, you've seen a bird on wing, nature has inspired you, some poetry has been read, so forth and so on. And emotionally you are moved to practice. But then emotions are part of dualism, isn't it? And then there will be another moment in your emotional life when you just don't feel like doing this shit. You know what I mean? And then your practice then disappears. Are you with me? And the same is the case with your intellect, your mind, your thinking. Sometimes you will think it's a good idea. Sometimes you would think it's not a good idea. And this is how you go. This is what you've been up to. This is what you've been doing. This is what you confess. This is what you sit around in your cooler process and convince one another is sadhana. That's not sadhana. It's an attempt at sadhana. You see, sadhana is consistent. Make a note. If it's not consistent, it ain't sadhana. It's an attempt at sadhana, true. And at some level, you even want to do sadhana, but you just, for some reason, can't do it. Well, now you know why you can't, because your approach to sadhana is not grounded in faith and acceptance of the testimony and the confession of the great realizers. You see? And without faith, there can be no sadhana at all. Your attempts will always be all over the place. In your positive dispositions, you will meditate all night, and then when that pendulum swings in the opposite direction, you'll miss months meditation. So even your progress is undone. Are you with me? And the evidence of that is you're stuck. You take 10 steps forward, you take 10 steps back, you remain where? I rest my case. So today, as you make your considerations, factor in the necessity for faith of whatever you're planning on doing. At some level, you'll have to consider what you will base your practice on. Will it continue to be how you're feeling in your body and how you're feeling the level of your emotions and how you're thinking on a given day? And if that was a part of your strategy, I just wanted to bring this to your attention, that that's not going to work. It has not worked. Discipline that is required for effective sadhana cannot be grounded in body, mind, feelings. Can't consult that. You know, if you're going to continue to consult your body, your mood, and your mind, you're never going to be able to do any kind of sadhana. If your discipline is based on those three things, then your discipline will always be lacking. Are you with me? true discipline is spontaneously engaged upon your acceptance of the testimony and the confession of the great realizers? Or do you think these great realizers are simply trying to deceive you about it all? Without such acceptance, you will never overcome your doubtfulness. Faith is what overcomes doubt. Make a note. There is no other antidote to doubt. You can't read yourself out of a state of doubt. You can't talk yourself out of a state of doubt. You can't think your way out of it. Only faith liberates you from doubt. It moves you beyond the limitation that is doubt. Doubt is a major limitation, isn't it? And the theme is you must go beyond these limitations. So faith is the great liberator of the time, energy, and attention in the kind of bearing down that sadhana requires of you. So this morning I wanted to just add that to your list of things to mix in with your consideration so that your consideration will have depth and not simply be more psychological gobbledygook and philosophical confusion. Mama. I don't know if any of you had the insight about faith. So I just wanted to put it back out here just to make sure. Now, anything else you'd like to consider that will help you consider? That's what this is for, so that you can start your day off clear, focused. Yes, sir.
In considering that faith is necessary, can you offer any ways to increase faith?
To increase faith? Faith automatically is self-increasing. Once you get it, the rest takes care of itself. Faith begins an evolution in you. It triggers a growth in you. You see? It is a self-contained phenomenon.
Either you have it or you don't.
Once you get it, it will just grow. And of course, it's obvious whether or not you have it or you don't. But the question is, are you still satisfied with the don't part of it? Are you content to be faithless? And remember, faith is a gesture. It's just acceptance. Unconditional, it accepts. Faith is not something you get at the end of proving something. It is prior to proof. You're trying to prove everything through research, your spiritual research. You're poring over scriptures. You're trying to prove with your head, with your thinking process. You're trying to prove it well. You can't prove Dharma via a process of thinking. How would you prove this water is cold without drinking to yourself? There's yes, beloved.
No.
Okay. So you see, what has been the testimony of the great realizers? There's God. And there is a certain relationship you have with God. You see, I don't have to go over all of that. You already know. You've read it. You see, there is suffering. You see, so forth and so on. You know the confessions. You know the testimony. You do not accept it. You reject Buddha's insight. Buddha said there is suffering. You said no, it's not. The Buddha said there is impermanent. You said no, it's not. You don't accept it. The Buddha said these are the steps by which you will bring your suffering to an end. You said, no, I do not accept that. I got my own set of steps by which I will bring my suffering to an end. Pizza Hut, Blockbuster, Walmart, you know what I mean? I got credit cards. That's how I will bring my suffering to an end. You do not accept the testimony, the confessions, and the evidence of the life and living of the great realizers. You don't have faith. How are you doing this hard? Beloveds, all those since time immemorial who have succeeded on the path have all said, with no exception, that the secret of their success was their faith. Even in the Bible, Jesus points out on many occasions, it was the faith of this man that gave him back his sight, gave him back his this and that. It's faith. Not your intellect, faith. Acceptance of the truthfulness of the testimony and the confession of the realizers. The fact of their argument is enough, you see, for the man and woman of faith. So you must consider whether you will practice on the basis of such faith, or will you continue to make an effort at sadhana based on consulting your body, your mood, and your mind, and suffering the inherent duality of that, the instability of that whole business. Faith is what allows you to transcend yourself. You see, many of you, because of your lack of faith, that you'll be all right when you do what you know you need to do. You see, you don't have faith in that. That's why you don't do what you know you need to do, because you don't have faith that you're going to be all right. Even after killing yourself, there will be life. You see? You have doubt about it. Will I be okay? What will life be? Will I? You see, you have to be full of doubt about it. The after effect of sadhana. You see. If I do sadhana, what will happen to me? You see, so forth and so on. So without faith, you cannot go beyond the limitation of your own ego. Ego is a limiting phenomenon. See, you will not be able to go beyond. That too requires faith. this faith and the consequences of ego transcendence is what makes you a noble man and woman, you see. This faith disappears your fear of mastering yourself. You follow me? The man, woman of faith wants to master themselves for the sake of liberation. And they love doing it. You see my point? They love it and welcome the disciplines associated with Solomon. You see? Because transformation is what they want, and the discipline is necessary. They love it. Just like you love not disciplining yourself. And that's the whole motive underlying your pathological preoccupation with being in control. Control is about remaining undisciplined. You control things so that you can remain undisciplined, so that you may always exercise your option in any given moment to do whatever you feel is necessary to make yourself feel better. That's about it. So you got to control shit so that that option is never threatened. Because at any given moment, I might need to do something to make myself feel better, all right? So I cannot be committed to nothing. So the undisciplined person is always controlling. And keep in mind, all of you who confess to being a control freak in your cool meetings, you see, now you have been tricked into seeing what you really think. You can't erase the tape. You know what I mean? I'm a control freak. You know what I mean? I like controlling, controlling, that's my thing. Now, understand. You're controlling because you are undisciplined. You're an undisciplined person. That's why you're so controlling. Now stick that in you. And you can't go back and rewind the tapes and erase it because you're making those statements into some kind of convoluted effort to appear humble or truthful and all of that kind of bullshit. And all you've done is confess to being undisciplined. Anti-discipline. Is that about right?
Yes.
Always reserving your option to make yourself feel better at 3:30 in the morning. You see? Or whatever Solomon requires of you, right? Consider that. Add it into your agenda today. Contrast that to the woman and man of faith. The woman and man of faith, the Buddha has called them the Arya, noble, noble. Noble man, noble woman, noble son, noble daughter. Who have transcended that egoic impulse to always feel better. And that's an egoic impulse. And has embraced the discipline of it all. That's what discipline is. It's the transcendence of the impulse to make yourself feel better. the undisciplined person simply cannot transcend that impulse to make themselves feel better. And to make themselves feel better always at the level of their body, their mood, their mind. Yes, beloved.
Oh, you weren't looking over me. Master, so that if I understand you correctly, what I'm hearing about myself is that anytime I'm asked to do something, even on a mundane level with anyone I'm in relationship with, if my first impulse is to, which is my first impulse is to say no, without even considering it, then what I'm doing is I'm always holding out my, I might want to. And I'm keeping that in reserve so that I'm saying no, so, you know, I might want to whatever.
Yeah, you got to keep the option open.
Right.
Sure, absolutely.
And that's not just with the sadhana, that's in every
Across
day.
the board.
Across the board, okay.
Across the board. Wherever you are seeking to control, that is an area where you are reserving your option. It is rather profound. And I'll be listening for your next round of Fuller tapes. You all are so clever. Now that the drop out of your repertoire, nobody's going to be saying I'm a control person. I'm subconscious about it now. You'll come up with something else, and then I'll catch you again. I'm smarter than you. I know you have a hard time accepting it. Not as smart as you, smarter than you. Got more smart in my little toe than you got. Oh, God. Shooting ducks. Yes, beloved.
All right, so you mentioned a few minutes ago you don't have any faith. Saints this time in the world have said these same arguments. We don't have any faith. I mean, just offhand. I mean, why should we have faith?
Why shouldn't you, or why should you?
Why should we have faith? I mean, just because they say.
Well, many reasons, but that's the thing that you must consider. Add it to your list, because you don't want to gloss it. You see, and many have said that, as you well know. You see, that is the usual man and woman's disposition. You know, why should I believe you, Jesus? Why should I believe you, Buddha? Why should I believe you, Osiris, Horus? Endless streams of others. So consider it. In the wisdom of the sand, if you recall, the master says, it is so. And if you don't believe it, then you will remain a quagmire. The saint said, why should we believe it? Because it is so. I'm pundit. You don't want to believe that which is so? To even ask the question, why should I believe that which is so? In itself is a kind of mummery, isn't it? Why should I believe it's raining when you see it's raining? It's mummery, isn't it? Because what is the mystics telling you? There is death, there is suffering, there is sickness, there is old age, there is this chronic dissatisfaction that you are suffering. You follow me? It is so. That's all they're telling you. They're telling you what is so in your own life. And you're saying, well, why should I believe I'm going to get sick? When you're sick already. It's mummery. It's not even so much, you see, beloved, what the mystics are telling us about reality. It's the thing that they are telling us are required of us to do on the basis of reality. That's the piece.
Would you repeat that?
Let me see if he heard me. You repeat it.
It's not so much that they're telling us what is so, but it's the things they're telling us in our quiet is based on what is so. So in other words, it's not so much that they're telling us that there's death and there's suffering, but they're telling us this is what's going on, and this is the means by which we deal with it, and this is the way out, and that's what I have.
The problem is with the how-to of it, isn't it? Because the how-to of it is going to require you to change, isn't it? And yield your option. To always do whatever any given moment requires of you to make yourself feel better, right? The how-to of it requires you to give up control and become a disciplined person. Is that about right? And that's the reluctance. Yes?
Yes, Bhagwan. I notice in my own case, the more you do, the more you do. The more you get. Faith is like, to me, a snowball going downhill. And a lot of good things happen as you grow that makes the faith secure.
Yeah, that's what the book says. Right. But when one has faith, you see, beloved, your life lines up with what you confess to be the truth. See, that's the only evidence that you have faith, personally. You know, you can talk about faith in some abstract way, as you have just done. That's an abstract discussion of faith. You see? Like you know something about it.
No, I don't claim to be a professor. I mean, that's why I come to you. But what I'm saying is I feel less weak and vulnerable to it the more that I trust it. And then it starts to grow, and there's still that weakness there, but not to the same degree that as a complete non-believer.
Who can hear his murmuring? His murmuring, beloved. Faith disappears all of that. You're still confessing some kind of struggle.
It's more like you're gonna dive off high diving the first time, and it's a success. And each step thereafter towards that is a success, and it becomes easier. I think the more faith you have, the more faith you probably are inclined to get, because you found the secret, which is what you're saying. And I guess I'm just saying.
Sounds like you know what you're talking about. Right? But it only sounds like you know what you're talking about. Just let it rest. Let it rest. That's mockery, beloved. Something else? Y'all scared? Are you scared? It's all right. That's good. Fear is good. Fear is good. All right.
Mine,
Mama Sutra, yes, beloved.
Don't get me too bad.
Oh, I like it. I just do that to Tedavadaji every now and then so that you all may know I'm merciless. If I would do that to him, you know what I'll do to you. You see my point?
Okay.
Go right ahead.
What about just plain old laziness, tired? I feel what about how can faith move me? You know, I'm just tired sometimes.
You have to really understand that sadhana that will be consistent cannot be based on the vitality issue. You follow me? Because sometimes you will be tired, sometimes you won't be tired. But in those moments when you're tired, then what happens? The sadhana is disappeared. You break the law that is required for sadhana to be effective. Sadhana to be effective must be consistent. 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 When you interrupt it, then you have lost all of that effort in that moment. Are you following me? Even a drop of water that persistently and consistently drips onto stone, over time, of course, a vast amount of time, but eventually it will penetrate that stone. Because of consistency, a drop of water can penetrate a stone. It's consistency. What Maharaji used to call perseverance. You must have perseverance. The sadhana must be consistent. It must be consistent. And to be consistent, it cannot be based on how I'm feeling. You follow what I'm saying? Because that will change. And then I won't feel that way again. And then I will break my consistency. Are you with me? So ultimately, sadhana that succeed must be established in something that is prior to the rise of duality in the body, in the mood, and in the mind. It must be grounded in something that is beyond that altogether. Because sadhana based on body, mind, and feelings will always be limited by your states. So you ask what to do, you must ground your sadhana in something beyond your body. Now, in the language of the mystics, they have talked about such grounding as the heart, heart-based sadhana that is grounded in something that is prior to and altogether beyond body, mood, mind. You will notice that the same fallacy that we are making with our sadhana in terms of what we will base our practice on, in some sense, and by some analogy, we're doing the same thing with our happiness. You are limiting your own happiness by making it dependent on objects and others, and this and that. When you make your own happiness dependent upon something else, you limit it, because that something else is temporary, transient. And at some level, you must overcome this tendency in yourself to magnify your happiness only under certain circumstances and in certain situations. there's only these small list of circumstances, situations that you allow yourself to magnify your own happiness. It's your happiness. Cooler number 2 was considering something like this. And one of the insights that you all had by way of what Dr. G, you did a good facilitating job, Richard, is that the happiness you're feeling is not in the object. You simply have made having the object a condition to magnify your own feeling of happiness, to release it, to sum it up, to let it be so. And if you notice, even your search for happiness, you see, you can move that around. You know, just like you move your love around. I can stop loving you. Put it over here, you know? It's portable. Mobile. Happiness is a mobile phenomenon. You can move it. That's how come you're able to do many things for the sake of being happy. You can do many things because the happiness is coming from you.
You know, Master, you told me that one time.
I told you that 3 times.
But you told, no, it was something about one day when you told me. I'm just putting it that way.
Yes.
It really moved. It made me more freer in that day, you know, and from then on, because you told me, you know. But anyway, you said you can move it. And I was thinking to myself, I didn't I know that? You know, I've been moving it all this time. But I'm just saying, I didn't really, till you said it again.
To become conscious of it.
Like,
To abide in that understanding, to abide in that awareness, to know that all the time, you see. You can be happy anytime you want. It is you who are limiting your experience of your happiness by insisting that it be only in the case of this or that, circumstance, situation, person, place, thing, or object. And because of your preference, you limit it. And you must also go beyond the limitations you are placing on your own happiness. You can find your happiness to just certain situations, circumstances, you see. But that's your own activity. Nobody's making you limit your happiness to this or that thing. It's your own activity. You're pinching yourself. You're creating your own suffering. You're limiting your own happiness. Aren't you? But if you have been doing anything like genuine self-observation, you would know that, and this would not come as a shock or revelation to you, because it's obvious, it's perfectly obvious that this is what you're doing. But you see, you've been doing mummery instead of self-observation. So here you have that occasion to go beyond this mummery and really observe. And in the same way, you are creating your own unhappiness. Right? That you don't limit. You see my point? That you got a long list of things that, if that happened, I'm going to be unhappy. You see, I'm going to shut down my, et cetera, et cetera. Anything else to say about it? So I just wanted to share those few things with you in the hope that it will add some additional depth to your consideration that you've given yourself. and make that change that you know you got to make. And we don't usually want to make that change because we have to give up that option, that change will require of us. But that's the change that you must make. Otherwise, it's just going to be